Hey, what's going on, guys? Dino Gomez here, and in this week's episode of the Figure SEO Podcast, we sit down with my man, Ryan Stewart. He is a emerging SEO leader and was recently landed guest posts in Moz, Search Engine Land, and a lot of other high-powered media sites. In this week's episode, we talk about how to go about guest blogging, building high-quality, real white hat links for your clients, most importantly, how to scale your SEO business. It's all coming up in this week's episode of the Figure SEO Podcast. Hey, what's going on, guys? Dino Gomez here, and welcome to another episode of the Figure SEO Podcast, where we sit down with top SEO experts from around the world and figure out how they are dominating Google, crushing search, and making a ton of money. Today, we have a familiar guest on the show. Today, we bring aboard Ryan Stewart. He's the owner and founder of Webris, and he's been featured in a lot of big magazines recently. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but you've been featured in Moz, Search Engine Land, and several other big, he's going to kill me for getting this wrong, but several other big...
No, I don't give a shit. I was featured. I had to write a shitload of content, but yeah, I've gotten links on them recently.
so yeah, anyways, Ryan, he's a star. He's joining us today. So Ryan, really appreciate your time, man. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Now, the topic for today's show, we're actually going to get into talking about the difference and kind of what our take is on Black Hat SEO versus White Hat SEO. There's been a lot of discussion recently in the industry about PBNs and whether or not that's kind of becoming mainstream and the only way to actually rank websites and actually drive traffic and leads for your clients. So yeah, we're going to talk about this a little bit more today because Ryan is kind of you're kind of in the middle as far as your take on PBNs and so forth. So, I mean, you're an expert on guest blogging and blogger outreach. So what is your actual strategy when it comes to not just ranking websites, but driving traffic for your clients?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it depends on the client. I mean, when I first got started, I'm organic expert, so everything was about ranking a website and organic search. But I actually had a call with a lead yesterday who has they sell mattresses. They sell very, very high-end mattresses. They're like $1,500 a pop. And they tried search engine marketing, they tried pay-per-click, and they tried Facebook ads, they tried SEO, and they struck out because when they're going against their competitors, I mean, you're looking at like these competitors that are selling mattresses for like $250 and just crushing it. Because the most people that are buying mattresses are like the millennials and shit who don't really care about the quality of a mattress. They just want it for 1 or 2 years until they move, and then they're gonna get rid of it. So they're trying to really target a specific niche type of person. They're looking for people in their 40s and up, people with homes, people that really care about the quality of their mattress. And he told me that they were working with one of the most highly recommended agencies out of the Northwest area in Seattle or something. And after 4 months of services, that agency actually called them and was like, hey, we can't help you. We're just taking your money like we're honest people. So, be on your way. So, it's not just about what you think is right. I mean, you really have to look at what's best for the client. So we're working on a strategy to segment paid search. I'm not even going to touch organic search because if you rank it for mattresses, the problem is that like when it comes to search marketing, it's browse shopping, right? I mean, people are going to shop around based on price, based on whatever. You're going to have 5 fucking browsers open at one time looking at different things. So just to rank for like best mattress in the world isn't going to do that much. You have to really, really target the right people at the right time. So we're pitching him a strategy that is going to do audience segmentation on paid search, based on behavioral targeting, based on a bunch of different messaging, just a ton of different testing. He's going to have to pay a pretty good ad spend for it, but then we're also going to throw in some behavioral remarketing down the line based on where they were on the site for display network. So the traffic type, it really depends on the website, on the client. SEO I'll recommend for almost everybody, but again, it depends on the type of the client. Like if it's a local business, is much different than if it's an e-commerce store, or if it's I work with a client who does they're like an online travel blog. They do like 10 million a year in visits, but it's a different type of SEO strategy, right? I mean, local businesses is kind of still that rank and bank, pick a keyword and let's just go after it. But for the other ones, it's different, right? For the bigger websites, it's a lot more content focused. It's a lot more technical SEO focused. So it really does depend on the client and what their website needs. So yeah, the traffic strategy really depends on the strategy that you have to set beforehand, and that's something that I've really learned getting more experience in this industry. That strategy in SEO strategy especially is something it's not really talked about a lot, right? I mean, it's not really, most people are just kind of like, what are your keywords and let's rank you for it, let's build links, but it's not the case with everybody. And a good example is that e-commerce thing that I posted today in that group, where a friend of mine, he has an e-commerce store. They sell shutters for homes. And he was working with an agency for like 6 months. And this agency, they were doing pay-per-click, and they were doing all right. I mean, the conversion rate was kind of low, but they were getting a positive ROI off their pay-per-click, doing like, they were spending like 10K a month and getting a return of like 40K a month. So doing pretty good off of it. But their organic search was just going nowhere. So I did an audit for them and found out, this is where that PBN discussion came up, that they were just building a bunch of links with PBNs. And like, I'm not totally against PBNs, because I think that in certain instances they do work, but when they don't work, they don't work. Like building, if a couple of PBN links don't work, every website is different. You know what I mean? There's a lot more that goes into the equation than just links. So just layering on more and more fucking links and all these other different spam signals, it's not going to help you out. It's only going to hurt your website. So we did a bunch of technical implementations. We did, rewrote all the page titles. We changed up like their parent folder structure with their nav and shit like that. We changed up their URLs. We cleaned up their URLs, and then we hired a content writer. An American content writer. Was super cheap. She wrote, for $2 each description, she wrote 150 words of descriptions for like 100 different pages. So
real quick, if I can jump in here, because I'm sure people are that are listening in are getting curious and on what's going on here. But just to reiterate real quickly, what we're talking about here is, you're an SEO expert, but we're talking about actually digital marketing, like putting yourself in your client's shoes. What industry are they in? Who's their target audience? What is going to actually drive them traffic and sales? And so SEO is always is crucial to any type of digital marketing campaign. But depending on your client, you got to tailor that SEO strategy to fit accordingly, and you may need to incorporate some paid search into it. And you got to look at different aspects of it. PBN links, we can talk about this some more. There's a time and place for them depending on the client and so forth. But what you're essentially saying here is that actual links from real websites that have your desired target audience, it's as powerful, if not more powerful, than a PBN link, but it also sends direct traffic and potential customers through that link to your client's site. So you're talking about driving them actual business when you place these links. Placing links, getting these links on these high quality sites. So you gave that example of your client. They're selling those. They sell like pretty badass mattresses at $1,500 a pop. They're selling these mattresses. They have an older demographic target audience. I mean, where would you start if you're looking to land them links on, on third party media sites within their niche?
It's actually really, really easy. And so I used to do this all myself, and I was killing myself. I did it for my own site for a while. That's really how I built all this traffic and really buzz about my own website, was just outreach, creating great blog posts on my site and then busting my ass to find sites that were relevant and link to it. But for clients, it's actually a lot easier, because when you're working in the SEO niche and the marketing niche, like, people know you're fucking reaching out for a link. Like, people know you're guest blogging for a link. So they're a pain in the ass about it, right? Like, they'll either, if you don't have a track record of guest posts, and they probably won't even answer you because they get spammed all the time from, like, people overseas that just write like shitty English. And I have a Write For Us page on my site, and I get spammed like 10 a day with like the worst fucking pitches. You know what I mean? So I know how it goes. So like, but like when you're working with a niche outside of SEO, people, so my friend who has the e-commerce store that sells shutters, I would target the same type of sites that I would for the mattress, because it's all like home products, home goods. So I mean, you're looking at like do-it-yourself blogs, you're looking at like mommy blogs, like, and there's literally millions of these on the web. How many people do you know that have a blog that are like do-it-yourself? All this stuff. They're a lot easier to pitch because they never get fucking pitched, right? So it's just a matter of finding them. So I just outsource. I started outsourcing the finding process. I have somebody in the Philippines who literally for 4 hours a day, I have a list of search operators, and I have a Google Excel sheet that I use everything. I have the list of the search operators and the keywords that I want her to find. So it'll be like, do it yourself, parentheses, like Write For Us, or like do it yourself, parentheses, like sponsor a post, like do it yourself, resource pages, all that stuff, right? She builds a list for me. So she'll come up with like 100 different targets, has their contact information, their site. Yeah, and that's all I need. And then I use just Gmail canned responses. You know what I mean? I'll look through them myself personally. It takes me like 20 minutes to look through them. I'll give her the go ahead, and then she'll just personalize each email, the template, and just fire them off with like a short pitch. And that's really it, dude. I mean, like, so I'll either offer to write something for their site, and I have, content writers are easy to find. You get like someone to write like top 3 things to decorate your home with. You link back to your product page, you submit it, or you just offer them like 50 or $100 to sponsor a post. So it's almost like the same thing as a PBN, right? You're still paying for links, but the difference is that person is going out and they're actively marketing their site, right? They have Twitter, they have Facebook, and they're actively pushing their site. So it's just a lot better of a link. So that's really all.
Do you offer a monetary incentive? So within that pitch email, are you like, hey, found your do-it-yourself blog, love what you have going on here, would love to write for you and contribute in return for a link, also would be willing to give you $100?
Well, I don't pitch both. It depends. If they have like a dedicated, so the first thing I'll do, I have them prioritized. There's a bunch of different like white hat links you can look for, right? There's not only guest posts, there's guest posts, there's like resource pages. That requires like a good piece of content on your site, but like a lot of really, really big sites, a lot of like .edu sites will have a page for resources, right? Where they'll link out to like, attorneys. This is really good for attorney links is, like a lot of law school websites, they'll have a page for resources, so like for more info on like DUI, stuff, then they'll link out to a bunch of pages. So all you have to do is create like a good resource, which costs money, obviously, but then just hit them up for that. And that's a really easy way to build white hat links. So there's resource pages. There's broken links, which I don't really use too much because the success rate is really low. And then, guest posting is a huge one that I use because it's just really easy to scale. So you just look for like pages that have Write For Us or submit content. And then for those ones, I'll pitch a guest post. I won't pitch money. I'll pitch a guest post because that's the lowest cost option. You know what I'm saying? You can get like a good 1,000-word article written for like $30-$40. And you just submit that. You know what I mean? Just come up with a good pitch, send it off. When they respond, send them a draft, whatever. And then, it's a link. But a lot of other ones, then I'll look for like sponsored posts, or like advertising. So like a lot of blogs, especially a lot of these like do-it-yourself blogs, they're looking for ways to monetize their shit. So they'll have like an advertise with us page. So I'll look for like advertise with us pages. And for those, what I'll do is I have a different pitch where, for the most part, they're trying to sell like, like social packages and all that crap, or like banner ads. But in my pitch, I just tell them, it's just like, hey, how you doing? We're like, always tell them right up, you're looking to advertise. Like, we're looking to advertise, but we're not looking for banner ads. We're looking for a native type advertising similar to a guest post. Is this something that you offer? And 99% of the time they'll hit you back and be like, yeah, we can do something like that. And then you just negotiate a price. And that's that. And they write it for you too, so it's easy.
You make it sound easy, man. You make it sound easy. Everybody seems to be so afraid of this whole outreach thing.
It's so easy, dude. It's so fucking easy. It's so easy. I'm telling you, like, it's so easy, and it's so, like, the best part about it is that the links, there's so much, like, I never ever check domain authority. I don't even have any fucking access to those tools because they're shit. I mean, like, they're not Google's tools. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guarantee you the people at Google are probably sitting there laughing like, these fucking idiots, like, checking domain authority. Like, domain authority is updated every 60 days, and it's updated on the back end, right? It actually looks at what's ranking, and then DA is figured into that. So, like, of course, the top 5 sites are all high DA sites. It's like they're part of the reason they're high DA sites because they're fucking ranking high. You know what I mean? So the one tool that I will use is SEMrush, because I'll check to make sure that site has some traffic. Because the only really rule that I follow is if that link drops traffic, even if it's just like a couple visits, it's a good link. That's it. That's all that really matters. And that is relevant to the website that you're linking to. And that's really it. I mean, that's really all you have to do for link building. And like, it's just so much easier. Like, even when up until a couple months ago, I was still buying PBN links from people, like even people that I trusted. And, dude, like, if you and I can sit there and look at a fucking site and just know that it's a PBN, Google's fucking algorithm can pick it up. They can sniff from a mile away, dude. Like, I don't care if the domain was dropped and like you reanimated it 20 minutes later with the exact same content. Like, if you are not actively, pushing it through social, I'm not talking about like buying fucking fake tweets and sending it at it. Google knows, man. I mean, and they're gonna only continue to get better at it. Like, it's just so much easier. And time, it takes less of my time to do that simple outreach or have somebody do it for me. It's really easy, Well,
let's talk about that more, because I think a lot of people are gonna be curious about that.
Yeah.
The whole myth is that doing the PBNs is a shortcut, but there's a shit ton of work that goes into building a PBN, managing it, keeping it safe, building links from it, trying to make it look natural. It's actually really expensive. I still use PBN links. They rank for me, or they work for me in clients, but again, it depends on the niche, the situation, if it's a local client, if it's to power up a social property, other things of that nature. But real curious here is talking about scaling this, doing white hat link building the right way, what you're talking about here. And a lot of it has to do with content. You got to have a resource page that they can link back to. You have to write an actual guest post for them. So when it comes down to this content, it is easy to find content writers, but I guess a question some people might have is, you go ahead and you sign a client. Now, do you have your own team of content writers that are producing content for all of your clients or all of your projects, or do you go out and seek a content writer and tell them, like, this is going to be your dedicated project?
I do it that way.
And
I do it that way. Oh. I look for niche specific writers. So like I have a client that they have SAT prep. They have like 12 SAT prep across the nation. So I got lucky. I just went on Elance and looked for a writer. Like, it's really, really hard to find good content writers. Not like PBN content writers or like shitty guest post writers, because like there's nothing worse than paying for somebody to write a post for you that gets rejected as a guest post. You know what I mean? So I'm willing to pay a little bit more, a lot more. I'm willing to pay upwards of like $100 for a really, really well written post, because it makes my life a lot easier. Like, I don't want to have to read it and edit it and all that shit, because what happens with a lot of these guest posts sometimes, if it's shitty, they're either just going to not answer your email or they're going to kick it back and like tell you edit it. And it's like, fuck, dude, I don't have time to do that. You know what I mean? That's where it becomes a pain in the ass. So I found a teacher she's a teacher, and it was summertime and she was looking for extra work. So she was writing, and you just get lucky. So you know how it goes with freelancers, dude. It's hit or miss. And it takes a lot of testing, but like when you find that good one, like this chick that I have in the Philippines who does my link research for me, I'm never letting her go. If she wants a raise, I'll give her you know what I mean? Because when you find that good one, you keep them. So it's hit or miss, and that's the hardest part about it, is finding the people to staff up the jobs. But once you have that, dude, I mean, you can kind of sit back, you train them. I make a lot of videos. I'll actually talk in the videos and show them exactly what I want them to do, exactly how I want them to write the content. The more information that you provide them up front, the easier it is in the back end. So I have like a private YouTube channel where I have a bunch of training videos for these people. And, for the most part, they're really receptive to communication. If you just communicate what you want, You spend a week with them and like critiquing their stuff and exactly how you want it. But once that's done, it's like that. You know what I mean? So you can really automate your link building, right? I mean, you have somebody doing the research, finding the opportunities. You have somebody just firing off email responses to people, and you have someone who's responsible to create the content. And all that in total, so it costs me about, I pay per article, so it costs me between like $30 to $50 per article to have written. But I pay my link researcher $250 a month, and she's full time, and she's working. Yeah, and she's working on multiple clients. So every day she wakes up, I have a list of the clients that I want to do research for, the keywords and search operators. She does it, and she just lists them off, and she'll find like 40 a day, which is huge. And then I have another guy who kind of manages my email. He manages the emails that come into me, like from prospective clients and stuff. But I also have him doing outreach for me. And again, he's just using email templates, nothing too crazy. I pay him $500 a month, and he works on multiple clients. So right there, $750 right there. And that's for pretty much all my clients. That handles my link building. You know what I mean? So it's not too expensive, but you know how it goes. You just got to find the right people to do it. And it takes some patience on your end. But, once you have that done, you can scale it. And you never have to worry about getting penalized. And you never have to worry about, like, is this link going to work? Because you know it's going to work. And you can show those links to clients, too. Like, I just keep an Excel doc with all the links built. So, like, later on when you're at that 6-month point, 8-month point with a client, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing for me? If you're still building links for them, you can just show it to them. Be like, hey, I got you featured on this blog. This is a really good blog. And, it goes a long way, as opposed to, like, when you're using PBNs and, like, really shady links. Yeah. Just kind of like, well, we built some links, and they're like, can we see them? And you're like, no, you can't.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It has a lot of value other than just the SEO value too, And it's just honestly, it sounds kind of corny, but fuck, dude, when people are paying you a lot of money for a service, don't be a fucking dick and take their money. You know what I mean? Do a good job for them. And to me, that's what I believe in. So not everyone does, but it is what it is. So
there's a lot of different SEOs out there who have completely different strategies on what they're delivering, what they're doing, what the goals are. One of the things that, I always had this in the back of my head, but if you would probably be the guy I would actually recommend for a company that's legitimately looking to grow their business, because you're working backwards from taking into account ROI of the client. Yeah. Rather than just are they ranking, because they're two separate things. But yes. So speaking of, real second, I want to go back to the. Actually, you have a guy. It sounds like a freelancer who's checking your email, your inbound inquiries. He's probably filtering them out to see which leads are big enough for your time, and then he's sending some outbound emails to try and get you those guest blog posts.
Yeah.
So this guy has your login to, I guess you created a separate Gmail account, or what's your strategy there?
Yeah, I'm actually writing. So I write regularly for SitePoint. The SitePoint. They pay me to write for them, which is nice. And I'm actually writing an article for them now. I have to get it done by tonight. All about Gmail, because I use Google products for everything. I use Sheets. Those are like my project management tools. I use all Google products because it syncs with your calendar. And Gmail is just incredibly fucking powerful. I have my company email. I have like the hello, which is the main company email, and then I have my personal email all going into hellowebbers@gmail.com, which I then use for analytics. I use for pay-per-click. So everything's like in that one email. Right. And all you can actually grant access to your Gmail now. So you don't actually have to give out your password. You can grant access to people, so they can access the Gmail, and with like certain levels of extent, like they can't access my personal Ryan at Webbers, but they can access the hello at Webbers and all the templates that I have.
Are there filterings on that as well, so you can what level of access they have to what types of emails? Yeah. Depending.
It's really powerful. It's really powerful. Plus the canned responses, like I said, that are just automated. So. So we have like a pretty straightforward funnel. We have a bunch of forms on our site that you get a free report, and I have him. That's what I really hired him to do, was to manage those, because we get like 20 of them a day. Most of them, 90% of them are shit. But he sends them the report because I didn't want to do that. He has to run the report manually, send it to him with a canned response, asking for them. the report tells you what's wrong, and then he's asked to set up a call with a specialist. And when they respond, he'll schedule the meeting for me, put it on my calendar. And then I'll usually pre-qualify them too beforehand. I'll tell them that our minimum is $1,500 a month. I tell them also too, like I'll look at their website and tell them if they need to do pay-per-click, and before I even like waste any of my fucking time. So I do like a pretty strong pre-qualifying stage where like the phone calls that I have, they're very, very, very strong leads. And even then too, I'll give them an estimate before. My proposals are pretty in-depth, so I'll give them a strong estimate.
A ballpark before to make sure they understand how much they
like
have to spend.
A high ballpark too. I'll always go high on it, just to make sure that they're game, that they want to invest. But, it's fun, honestly, because the more people invest, the more return that you can get. It's one of those things where, like, those $500 clients, $1,000 clients, it's almost not worth their time. You know what I mean? Like, the more you invest, like, if you give me $5,000 to spend on pay-per-click, I'm going to drive money to I'm going to drive ROI, like, almost guaranteed. You know what I mean? My team can do that. And same with search. If you pay me my quote, and let me do it, I can definitely change the face of your business. But it's really hard to get like that initial that trust. Asking for like $10,000 to someone that found you online is difficult. But again, I try and pre-qualify them all as much as I can through email, and I have my guy do it. But Gmail's a shit, dude. It's a really powerful tool.
It sounds like Gmail is the way to go. It's kind of funny because a lot of SEOs, if you are going that PBN route, they can't, or they're against using any type of Google product or service. They don't want to use Google Docs. They don't want to use Google Sheets. They don't want to use Gmail because it's leaving legitimate footprints back to PBNs and everything they're doing. So it's kind of funny because they're missing out on all that. I didn't actually know about that Gmail tip right there. So that's now I'm looking forward to jumping into that. That's pretty cool. So. All right, so you have all your different contractors. You have them doing all different assignments and stuff. Some people kind of are curious when you hire a content writer and you're going to have them write for a client. I've seen two different strategies here. I'm kind of curious which way you go. So some SEOs, they'll hire a content writer. The content writer writes the blog post and so forth. They go in themselves and post that blog post to the client's website. Do you have a system where your content writers post it? If it's an actual blog post to sit on your client's site, first off, do you do that, or do you only do guest blogging? And do they post it, or do they pass it off to you to then go in there and edit their site? Because that gets fairly time consuming.
I don't. So I actually don't have any clients right now that I'm trying to push my content marketing services really hard, but because that's really the route that I want to start going is but it's just expensive. So I don't have anyone on board right now that pays me to do content creation for their website, because I charge out the fucking ass for it. You know what I mean? Like I personally, I don't see the value in just like throwing up a random blog post if it's not going to be a linkable asset. You know what I mean? If I can't do outreach to somebody and not pay for a link, if I ping someone in the space that does like link roundups, and if it's not good enough to make their link roundup, then it's a waste of my time. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I charge a lot to like write blog posts, because I would actually go out and hire somebody. So the way that I hire people for content writers, for the most part, what I'll do. So just backtracking to the guest blogging thing. So I have a pretty sophisticated system that I use for guest blogging based on the quality of the site, right? Like you can tell by looking at a Forbes versus like a mommy blogger, the level of content you'll need to write. So I hit it with a tag between 1 and 5. Anything 4 or 5, I'll either write myself, or I will go actually to a big website within that niche. Like I'll go to a Forbes and I'll contact the writers on that site and ask them if they freelance. They're usually like 150 to 200 a post. So I'll pay them for it. I actually have 2 girls from search engine land that I pay. Like not that much actually. I just paid a girl $100 for like a 1,500 word post, and which I'm gonna submit to like big marketing blogs. You know what I mean? Because it's good content, and I'm actually gonna drop their name too that they wrote it. So depending on if I was gonna write content for somebody's site, for a client's site, I would go out and hire like a really expensive writer. You know what I mean? Like someone that's really going to do it right. Because the only reason I would create content for someone is for somebody in a very competitive space like insurance. And I would create like an ebook. I would do something really big, you know, because like a top 10 post, it's not going to do much and it's not going to get many links. So I would create like a really, really big piece of content and pay a lot of money for it and charge the client to fucking ask for it. So, and in that case, yeah, I would go into their site. I would probably have my developer do it. But yeah, I mean, like if it's like a WordPress site and somebody, you know, wants like me to manage their blog, honestly, I would probably tell them I'll probably push it somewhere else because, you know, I don't want it's just not going to do that much.
It's not your thing. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not your thing, and then you're right though. No content actually ranks unless it's an actual in-depth. Like it would have to be 100. It would have to be 100-point list blog post for it to attract any type of links or be linkable to these days.
Yeah. No, and that's the fact, and that's why content. You know, that's actually the service that I'm trying to push. So the stuff that I did for my website in terms of building, you know, like a reputable blog in the space that gets links, and now it gets natural links. Like I don't have to do much outreach anymore. I can just ping a few people, and it'll get like the traction that it needs, and it'll hit a couple roundups and stuff like that. That's a service that I would ideally like. That to me is SEO. That's the type of SEO that I want to do because that's when you see the fucking explosive growth that just never ends, right? I mean, you can grow your traffic to as much as you want if you keep doing content like that. But again, I mean, I wouldn't take anything less than like 20 grand a month to do a service like that because it's so much work.
That's a lot of work. Your blog posts are wild. They're a lot of work to read.
Yeah.
I mean, to literally to follow along, there's so much going on. I feel like I have to have a second window open, and that's how in depth they are. Yeah. That's how powerful and awesome they are. So yeah, to write a post like that, gosh, it's almost a full day's work right there, 8 hours or something. I could almost imagine either that or an energy drink and just crush it out in like 2 hours. But
if it was for a client, I would hire someone to do it. But that's the point. Like someone's gonna like the really good content writers. I'm not talking about I'm talking about somebody that just writes content and writes like ebooks. You know what I'm saying? Like I would, for a big client, like an insurance type client or something like that, like you're just not going to rank them for fucking insurance. You're not going to rank their homepage or their service page for insurance because you need so many links.
Yeah.
You would need to do like an ultimate guide to like selecting it. I don't fucking know, whatever it may be, but like something really big.
Right.
And I wouldn't write it because you have to be an expert in that space too. I can write about digital marketing, but I can't write about finance. I can't write about attorney stuff. Like, you know, if an attorney wants me to write a blog post for him, I'm gonna have to hire someone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, so it's a lot of work for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So yeah. So no blogging on site. If so, it's got to be an ultimate guide. So I think a lot of people listening in, that's a big takeaway right there. If you're new to SEO, if you hear content is king, content's definitely important. But you know, the little blog posts, the dinky blog posts, 500 words, they're just not going to do anything to actually help. They're not going to rank. The blog post itself is not going to drive traffic. And so also, you either go big or you go home these days when it comes to blogging.
So that's my opinion. I don't want to. So like I also see it as I don't see it as a bad service. You know, a lot of businesses will ask. You know, everyone asks like, "Are you going to update my blog and create content because Google loves fresh content?" It's an easy way to upsell people. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It's a great way to earn easy money because it's good margins on it too, right? If someone's paying you $1,000 to update their blog, you just go and get some content for cheap and just post it. It's a great upsell. It's just not something I'm interested in. It's just not something I'm interested in. So, but it's a great upsell though. Don't get me wrong. It's a great upsell.
Right. So, all right, wait. So let's jump around for a second. Let's actually talk about scaling the business a little bit more, because a lot of people. The great thing about SEO, it seems like the number one problem in this space that people have is scaling, and that's how you know you're in an industry that's just taking off. Is when the majority of people in your industry, their biggest issue is I have too much work. How do I continue to grow and sign more clients? That's a pretty awesome problem to have, and so. The leaders of this SEO industry, they have systems in place. They've gotten really good at outsourcing, hiring contractors, figuring out how to maximize their time, how to actually qualify clients and so forth. You know, Ryan just touched on a lot of this here. But let's talk about where you're at right now, Ryan, what direction you're heading. I mean, you have your virtual assistants. You mentioned a couple in the Philippines, some content writers, a guy who manages your email. What are you doing to scale right now? And do you have any tips or hacks that you're actually using to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a problem that it's my biggest issue too, right? We talked about it before. I'm at that point now where I've been doing contracting and consulting now for a couple of years and doing really well with it. And when you do that, it's, aside from taxes, I mean, it's 100% profit. So, but because my site has grown, I'm getting a lot of inquiries and not even from organic traffic, but really from writing from these other blogs. I get a lot of requests for services, and so I'm at the point now where I'm trying to figure that out for myself. And honestly, it is a good problem to have, but it's difficult. And I'm in a good situation because I make a very good income as it is, so I'm not necessarily pressed to take on everything and figure it out later. What I'm really trying to do, my biggest concern, and I tell this to every contractor, the first thing is my number one concern is the client. I really, really, truly, because my name is stamped on it, I want to deliver the best possible service, period. That's it. And that's really the biggest problem that I have with scaling. You kind of touched on it earlier, is that when you are the best marketer in the company, you can't scale your time, Yep. And it's any other great marketers, they're not going to come and work for you because they're going to do their own thing. And that's really the problem that everyone has, right? So it's the best way to do it is figure out a airtight process, right? And that's, I think, the best people that do it, like the Cotton Grammar dude, that scaled to over 1 million just like that. It's not hard to get clients. The hardest part is actually delivering a good service and maintaining them and dealing with them. And it's hard. It's really hard. And I still haven't figured it out. I'm still trying to figure it out, So what I'm trying to do is build out one piece of the puzzle at a time, right? So the biggest thing that I think every SEO faces is link building, right? It's the biggest concern. Any fucking buddy can do on-page and technical SEO. It's not really that hard, especially if you're with a WordPress site. It's just a couple of changes here and there. Yeah. The rest is all link building. Let's be serious. So, the last couple of months, really, I have been looking into a lot of ways to build an airtight white hat link building process. And I've done that now, right? And what I just talked about with finding the right people to do the outreach, the research, and allowing me to focus on other things and have them just kind of build it in the background. A lot of people will outsource link building, white hat link building, but it's really expensive. If you try to pay me to do, I have 2 link building clients right now, and they pay me a lot, dude. They pay me, I make them pay me a lot, because it is a lot of work still. And I actually am just starting to use the outsourcers for that. I was doing it all myself. They're paying me a large sum to build white hat links for them. And I'm just using the outsourcers now to help me out with that. So I'm trying to automate that process, not automate it, but put a process in place, get a couple of people.
Systemize it, yeah.
Yeah. And then once I have that figured out, I'm also working on with another freelancer, kind of a white label, kind of a partnership. He's been doing my pay-per-click now for a while, and he's just an absolute fucking whiz. He's amazing. So I'm actually talking with him now about how we can build that out and just blow it out. You know what I mean? Because he's got that process filled out. He's using some of my resources. He's leveraging the brand that I built and the leads that I get because I upsell everyone on pay-per-click. And we built a couple of really good case studies together. So I'm really looking at just trying to scale it one at a time, not just bum rush it, right? I've been doing I have a really good web developer. I've been using him for a while. I've actually been doing the design myself in Photoshop, and it's been killing me. So
is there anything you don't do?
I
mean, it seems like you're doing it all. So it sounds like you started off, you were doing it all, and now you're kind of systemizing with people. But yeah, it's damn impressive. You got Photoshop down. You're doing the white hat link building, the outreach, the actual content writing.
I think
tell these guys how many hours you're working a week and shoot it straight.
It's not even like I said. It's not even work to me anymore. You know what I mean? It's just my life. I live on my fucking computer. I get up at 6:30 every day. because my people in the Philippines, they work from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I have to kind of to make sure that everything is set for them. I just jump on my laptop, and then I'll either head to mostly some client stuff during the daytime, or I'll work from home, or I'll work from, I have an office, but I rarely go into it. And I'm doing that until about 6 p.m. And then I come home. I'll usually like work out. My girlfriend's a nurse, so she works until like 8 p.m. So then I'll be on my computer until like 10 or 11. You know what I mean? So it's just like, again, I'm watching TV on my computer. I'm always working. So there's always something to be done. And again, that's why I'm trying to like figure out ways to scale it. But, you know, again, the hardest part is you realize that you are your own best resource. And I've always been like a margins guy, right? Like, you know, I want to build beautiful websites, but I don't want to fucking pay some asshole like $2,000. You know, he's great, but like, you know, where are my margins on that? So I just, you know, I was a graphic design major in college, so I knew Photoshop. So I just started, you know, you just find PSD templates online. You get a really good developer. You know, when you build custom websites for people, you can charge a lot more. And also too, like my own website, I'm constantly changing my website. I'm one of those people that I'm never satisfied. So I started doing it, and it's something that I enjoy. You know, I smoke a fucking joint and build a website, and it's
build the websites are built in the evening time. So this is
exactly. You know what I mean?
This is a fact.
I don't mind doing it. I actually kind of enjoy it, but like I said, so in the contract and consulting work that I do, I'm actually on contract with one of the, you know, biggest agencies in the world, and I go into that office maybe once or twice a week, and there's other world-class people that web design. I mean, I'm talking about literally the best fucking web designers in the world are there, and they all freelance too. So, you know, I'm looking at working to work them into like what I'm doing. You know, because like I said, I mean, to me, quality is everything. I don't want to just be an agency. If I go the agency route, I want to be the fucking best. You know what I mean? I want people to be like, they build the best fucking websites. They do the best pay-per-click. They are the best at search optimization. So, you know, I'm looking at trying to scale each vertical in itself. You know, I don't even have SEO down because it's such a large process. And I'm also looking at ways to, like, you know, the cheap outsourcing stuff, but I also want to incorporate some local people to deal with clients and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a process. I'm working on it, but it's trying to do it like piece by piece and not just kind of like bum rush it and do shitty work, you know. So,
well, like you said, it's hard to scale when you're hiring help, and you also want to keep the quality up, and that's one of the things actually. Recently I started using that while essentially pitching clients and so forth, and when they ask about the company size and whatnot. But that's actually a selling point, is you're not going to keep the best internet marketers, digital marketers, lead generation experts, SEO experts. You're not going to keep them in-house. They're never going to be at an agency, because if they're good enough, they're going to be doing it for themselves. That's kind of what you're explaining here. So it's tough to scale, to build an agency right, and still keep that best of the best type reputation there, and manage your time and so forth. It's the toughest problem. It seems like the number one problem most people have.
Everyone has it. Yeah, there's no real answer to it. And that's the thing. I mean, like, unless you are a Digitas or a Sapien Nitro, you know what I mean, then it's very difficult to find and retain local talent, because I mean, you know, they're expensive, and you gotta be working with brands only if you're gonna have that type of talent. So your other option is to either get somebody really young who's not very good, or to hire someone overseas, or to just kind of work with other contractors. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing now. Like I don't mind taking a haircut on like the pay-per-click stuff. Like I don't make much margin on pay-per-click, only like 2 to 3% of ad spend. And the rest I give to the freelancer or the guy, because he's fucking amazing. You know what I mean? And he keeps my clients happy. And especially when you're doing SEO, like if you're not doing paid search, then they're up your ass. You know, where are my rankings? Where are my rankings? Where are my rankings? But if you're driving phone calls every day, they're off your case. You know what I mean? So I see tremendous value in good pay-per-click.
Yep.
And it's just like SEO, man. There's you never really realize if you don't understand pay-per-click, you're just like, oh, you're just fucking setting up ads. Like anybody can do it. Dude, it's a science. It's just like SEO. There's varying levels of skills. And some are better than others.
Oh, Google AdWords, it's messy in there, man. It's a jungle in there.
Got so much harder,
It changes just as much as the organic algorithm does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's its own expertise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's certainly smart to couple pay-per-click with the SEO so that you're driving immediate traffic calls.
I insist on it, man. I insist on it. Because like when I first got started, and I think everyone does, you're just kind of scrambling to get clients on board at like the low 500 range, whatever. When you do, you're like, yes, but then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, your website sucks. Like, you're not going to convert shit. So like, I always try and tell people up front, like, number one, I'm expensive. Number two, you're going to have to make an investment. You're going to see return on it, but you're going to have to see. And I tell them everything that's wrong up front. Like, I tell them I will not work with you unless you let me redesign your website. I have to, because like, honestly, I can rank you number one for whatever, but if your website looks like butt, like, no one's going to call you, and it's going to look bad on me. So, yeah, and I guess where like you become the whole digital marketer, and like you have to understand other channels and how they fit together. Because again, I don't pitch SEO to everybody because it's not for everybody, and you're just setting yourself up for failure and headaches if you're just trying to pitch, search optimization. Like if an insurance agency came to me, I'd be like, we're doing all paid stuff. We're doing all paid stuff and some content marketing, and that's it. So. Struggle, man.
Shooting it straight. So as we wrap up here, let's talk about the direction you're headed, because we did kind of talk about that a little bit, slowly, meticulously growing out your agency and so forth. So what do you see coming up here in the next, let's say, year or two? I mean, do you ever plan on full-time employees? Are you going to keep it partnerships with other freelancers, or what's the what's going to be the strategy here?
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, so we didn't really cover it offline, but I'm just now starting to take on clients again. There was a time, so about 2 years ago, I was taking on a lot of clients up until about a year and a half ago. Then I kind of burned out, and I do really well with consulting, and again, it's all margin. So I was just doing that, and enjoying building my blog on the side and getting leads, and then I would just sell to people. But something happened a couple weeks ago where I realized that it's always been my dream to kind of have an agency. So I just started taking on clients, really good clients too. And I would like in a year, I would like to have a kind of a takeover of the Miami area at least, and especially with like the big companies, even the brands, the Bacardis, the Carnivals, I would like to at least have a contact there.
You gotta get those perks in, man. You gotta get those Carnival perks in. That would be a good 1-2 combo right there, Bacardi and Carnival. Yeah,
because it's funny, like I think a lot of marketers are intimidated about working with brands, but I don't think they realize how much easier it is because they have so much money and their expectations are not money driven. Right. I mean, every brand that I work with through this other agency, never, ever, ever, not one fucking time have we talked about ROI. Never, not once. One of the goals for one of the clients, I shit you not, is impressions. They buy media for impressions, millions of dollars of media based on impressions, and the bounce rate is like 95%. But they're like, I shit you not, dude. It's like, I'm not joking.
No. Yeah. I have a buddy who's working with a national brand, and that's the exact same thing. They pay him, I forget what it is, $5 or $10 a month just to make sure that they hit a certain number of impressions. He does not have to look at anything else. It's just getting impressions.
Yeah. So I mean, ideally, I would like to, it's a lot more work. You got to have good talent locally. It's a completely different process, proposal, RFPs, all that stuff. But ideally, I would like to start moving up to that level because I know I can do a better job. I'd like to have a local team, but you never know. There's a lot of things I'd like to do. So
it all changes quickly. So
we'll
see. By the next time we have you on the show, man, it could be a completely different strategy. We'll see here. But for everybody listening in, one of the things you have going on that's been awesome, you're kind of giving back to the community here. The SEO and digital marketing communities, is you recently started that Facebook group.
Yeah.
So I'm in there. You're always posting good stuff, keeping everybody up to date. You almost don't have to leave Facebook. And if you're new and just starting off in SEO and internet marketing, make sure you get involved with SEO on Facebook so that you don't actually ever have to leave Facebook to get your updates on what's going on in the industry, what Google's up to, the new tips and tricks. It should all be on Facebook for you. But let's talk about Ryan's Facebook group, because you guys definitely need to jump on board there. That's where that's where it's all going down right now. So yeah, we'll leave a link actually underneath this podcast on the site to Facebook, or to Ryan's Facebook group. But what was the name of that, in case people want to jump online and look at it?
It's called Digital Marketing Questions.
Digital Marketing Questions. So look that up as a Facebook group. You'll see Ryan as an admin there. Make sure you guys go ahead and join and jump and get involved in the conversations in there. Man, that you post like 3 or 4 times a day in there. Is that all you, or you said you have a moderator?
It depends on how busy I am. I started it because, like you said, Facebook is a tremendous resource for marketers, especially. It's a crazy good resource. There's a lot of smart people that use Facebook a lot, and just, I mostly have it open during the day. I use it as a communication tool between. I actually use that more than Skype to like talk to my freelancers and stuff, because, like you said, everything's in that one platform. Facebook is really just doing a good job. I've been promoting it heavy on my site. I didn't want to do that shady thing where like people add people to a group. I didn't add one person to it. It's grown. I started by posting a lot of stuff, but now it's just a great way to crowdsource. Like, people do it for you. A lot of people ask really good questions. Like I said, there's a lot of smart people in there that answer questions for me. I started as just answering everything that I could. I post in a couple times a week. I try not to post links in there. I try to just like today, like a small case study update. I try to make it a good resource, and I'm trying to get other people like that are not generally, there's like a couple of big Facebook SEO groups. I'm promoting it on my blog. I'm promoting it from the blogs that I write on. I'm trying to get a different crowd of people in there. It's going good. It's a good group. A lot of smart people, like I said. So it's a good resource.
Yep. Yeah. So everybody listening in, make sure you jump. You get over there, you hit and jump. I can't even say that correctly. Make sure you join the Facebook group. I was trying to figure out how to articulate. Jump in there, join the Facebook group. But internet marketing or digital marketing questions. You'll learn a ton. Ryan's always posting tips, tricks, new updates, and so forth. And then also, you'd be surprised how much networking goes on Facebook in these SEO and digital marketing groups. If you need web designers, developers, contractors, virtual assistants, you just post a question in there, and you're going to find somebody who is a real person, since their Facebook profile is connected to it, that you can go ahead and partner up with. But yeah, Ryan, just want to say, man, it's been awesome having you on the show again. It's always fun to just sit down, shoot the shit, and talk SEO and internet marketing. There's always I always learn a ton talking to you about everything you have going on. So really appreciate your time. And if people want to learn more about you, what you're up to, digital marketing questions on Facebook or otherwise, should they visit webrus.org?
Yeah, the group is actually probably the best way to get in touch with me. I'm trying to update my blog a little bit more. I only posted once this month, but I've been writing for a lot of other sites. So and clients got me waiting down now too. So
you're a busy man. You're a busy man. So yeah,
gotta stay.
That's right. So we understand. So all right. So yeah, the best way to keep up with Ryan, and don't necessarily bother him, but jump on board digital marketing questions on Facebook. Join the Facebook group. We'll both see you on there. And then otherwise, appreciate you guys listening in. Until next time, this is the Figure SEO Podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.